Michael Burry, the man, the myth, the legend behind the movie Big Short, yet again deleted his Twitter. When these ivory tower elites, these government officials, these elected politicians that we the people put into place work against the people, something is wrong with the system. When people like Michael Burry are trying to present factual data and they have to worry about getting harassed by government officials, something is wrong with the system. The system is broken. But that's why we got YouTube. And shout out to New Money. I was gonna break this down myself when I stumbled upon his video and I was like, wow, this dude just nailed it. So I just want to dive into the best parts of this guy's video because he breaks it down so well. I couldn't do it better if I tried. Ready? Let's dive deep.
It was back in February of last year that Michael Burry first warned of high inflation as a consequence of the Fed's unprecedented money printing. He was tweeting to prepare for inflation, hashtagging doomed to repeat, and calling out the US government and the Federal Reserve over the trillions of dollars worth of stimulus they'd done. And at this point, he was the contrarian. At the time, all looked well. You know, the Fed was printing money, yes, but inflation was staying low. At the time, the latest published data showed an annual inflation rate of just 1.7%. That's lower than the Fed's target. But in classic Burry fashion, he was just early. Fast forward 12 months and we're now running at a red hot inflation rate of 8.6%. Habitually be 1 to 2 years early on literally everything and you too can attain broken clock status, Burry tweeted a month ago.
Michael Burry being early. Was he really early when Wall Street was paying the places that audit and rate housing markets? They were covering up and lying about the data. Just like the federal government continues to manipulate the CPI data, which is constantly inaccurate.
The Federal Reserve, economists, and talking heads all on television, they continue to understate and underexpect what is going to happen with inflation. First, you can see that gasoline is up 43% over the last 12 months. If you look at something like new cars, it's up 13%. Even though they are actually manipulating the way that that is calculated. Then the big one to me is food at home, up 10.8% over the last 12 months. That is completely unsustainable for the average American family. Now, part of the problem is that nobody believes the CPI metrics. They're literally manipulating the way that it's calculated.
How does the Federal Reserve dictate how much money they get to spend? How does the Federal Reserve dictate when they're going to start to tackle inflation? Remember, it was just transitory. Remember, it was gonna go away. Remember, there has been no government organization that has ever put out more disinformation than the Federal Reserve.
I really doubt that we're going to see an inflationary cycle.
Most economic analysts believe that it will have a temporary or transitory impact.
The faster than expected increase in some of those prices is actually a good sign.
The overwhelming consensus is going to pop up a little bit and then go back down. No one's talking about this great,
This is something that will settle down.
Transitory.
Hey, don't forget, I didn't check with the Minister of Truth to make sure that everything said in this video is fact. This video is for entertainment purposes only. I'm not a financial advisor. I'm not educated about finance in any way, shape, or form. And a lot of the information that I'm presenting in this video is information that I found on the internet. So you always need to do your own research and make sure you consult with your Minister of Truth to make sure that this information is not disinformation. Smash that like button, smash that subscribe button. Well, they keep manipulating how they are calculating CPI data. So the problem continues to get worse. They are just manipulating the data so the general public, the retail investors, we don't get to see that real data. So we talk about Genslor and the SEC and regulations and how we need the government officials to regulate Bitcoin. I think we might be barking up the wrong tree. Where you're going to allow these same corrupt people to regulate the crypto market and destroy the crypto market, just like we have allowed them to regulate Wall Street and destroy Wall Street. This is why Wall Street is going to collapse right now, because of all the poor regulations. They regulated it so that government officials like Nancy Pelosi can trade. With insider trading information, a senator makes $200,000 a year and her net worth is worth $115 million. She outtrades every algorithmic trading software in the world. She outtrades the best traders in the world. And these are the people that we want making regulations to regulate the crypto market. You got to think about that.
But what's very interesting is that in the past month or so, Michael Burry hasn't just been doing victory laps. Instead, he's been tweeting quite extensively explaining why he believes this economic crisis and subsequent market downturn has only just begun. The overarching message is he believes the worst is yet to come. So much so, he thinks the S&P 500 could lose another 50% from where it sits today. On May the 3rd, Burry tweeted regarding paradigm shifts and speculative peaks, the S&P 500 bottomed 13% lower than 2002's bottom in 2009, 17% lower than 1998's LTCM crisis low in 2002, and 10% lower than the 1970s low in 1975. 15% lower than the COVID low is an S&P 500 value of 1,862, roughly Shiller PE of 16, nominal PE of 9 in historic range. I'm not going to lie, I had to read that one quite a few times to actually get that phrasing, but what he's noting is the trend we've seen over the past 25 years is the bottom of a current market crash is usually lower than the one that came before it by about 10 to 15%, adding that 15% below the S&P 500 low that we saw in 2020 takes us down to 1,862 points. That's crazy because it shows that Michael Burry is anticipating a peak to trough fall of 61.4%, which would bring us back down to the historical normal Shiller PE of roughly 16. Essentially, from where we are today, Michael Burry anticipates a further 50+% drop off in the stock market. It's a bold prediction, and it's a prediction that was once again met with criticism, as over the past few weeks, we saw the market bounce 6.5%. But as we've seen even just across the past few days, short-term bounces certainly don't mean we're out of the woods.
So this is where it gets really exciting. We have Gery Genslor now approving a Bitcoin short ETF. The federal government, the SEC, they are doing everything that they can, not to support Bitcoin, not to help pass regulations, but to allow Wall Street to have the advantage to do everything in their power to destroy Bitcoin. You don't have to own any Bitcoin now. You can bet and you can profit on the demise of Bitcoin without owning any Bitcoin. And Gery Genslor thinks that that's safer to regulate a shorting ETF than to regulate a spot ETF. And these are the officials that you elect. They are doing everything in their power to protect their control of the money supply. Because without it, I don't really know, guys. It's sad, man. It's so sad to see how corrupt our politicians are. And these are the people that I guess we let Joe Biden put in control.
And Michael Burry actually commented on this possible scenario. He recently tweeted, quote, "Dead cat bounces are the most epic. 12 out of the top 20 NASDAQ one-day rallies happened during the 78% drop from the 2000s top. 9 of the top 20 S&P 500 one-day rallies happened during the 86% drop from the 1929 top." Again, that's a lot of numbers to wrap your head around, but what he's alluding to here is that even during the worst times, the statistics show that it's actually quite common to see strong short-term recoveries amongst the longer-term downward trend. 12 of the top 20 NASDAQ bounces happened along this slope. 9 of the top 20 S&P 500 bounces happened along this slope. On the 5th of May, he added, quote, "After 2000, the NASDAQ had 16 bear market rallies over 10%, averaging 22.7%, before bottoming down 78%. After 1929, the Dow had 10 bear market rallies over 10%, averaging 22.8%, before bottoming down 89%. So Burry certainly seems confident that we're simply in the early stages of a much bigger problem. And to further his point, he also took the time to comment on the comparatively low trading volumes we've seen during the 2022 downturn thus far. He said, top to bottom, Microsoft traded 5.2 times its shares outstanding by 2002, 3.3 times by 2009, and 0.5 times so far. Amazon traded 5.7 times by 2002, 6.6 times by 2009, and 0.9 times so far. JP Morgan traded 3 times by 2002, 5.9 times by 2009, and about 0.7 times so far, etc. Enough takes time. So really, when you look at the trading volumes, even though we've seen the market cool down, quite a bit in 2022, and everyone seems bearish from what you hear, the selling really hasn't even started. Have a look at this chart. As you can see, withdrawals from the market haven't even really started yet. Money is still flowing into the markets. So in Burry's eyes, we're likely going to see a lot more selling volume coming over the next few years, which would lead to much larger declines in the stock market.
So you guys got to do me a favor. You got to swing over to New Money's YouTube channel. I don't want to keep playing the entire video because it's amazing, and I want you guys to swing over to his channel, show him some love, and watch the entire episode. But Michael Burry is one of those experts that you would like to see on some type of decentralized board or on some social media platform where he could speak freely, maybe even anonymously. We need something where we can get trustful information from people like Michael Burry, and places where Michael Burry can share that type of content and not feel like he's going to be targeted by governments who are purposely manipulating data and trying to keep the truth from you. That's the scary part, guys. I personally think that all branches of government in the United States need a complete overhaul. I don't know about you guys, but I've always been proud to live in the United States, and for the first time, I feel like I'm getting taxed so bad that I worry about the future for my kids. It's not about me personally or how much money I make. I make more now than I've ever made in my life, and it's harder for me to get by than it ever has been. I keep making more money, but at the rate the government is taxing us to death, people don't realize that inflation is caused by governments printing money that they don't own. Governments cannot spend more than they make. They are, but they shouldn't. What business, what job do you ever get, or where have you ever worked, or what business have you ever seen that gets to constantly spend more money than they make? So do me a favor, drop some comments below. Let me know how bad you think it's going to get. How much longer are people going to stand up and let these corrupt politicians get away with what they're getting away with? We need transparency, we need accountability, and you get those things from a blockchain. A majority of the issues with the government, their reckless spending, how they spend money, that should all be on chain. That's our money, that's our tax dollars. We should know where every penny of that is being spent, especially when the government's spending it recklessly and inflation's at 8.6%. Hey you, don't forget to hit that subscribe button, give the video a thumbs up, then check out my Kadena playlist. This one blockchain is gonna change every aspect of life as we know it. And then come join us live on my second YouTube channel. Love you guys.